Hey now, cats, we're back again this week on the Balls from Ellwood show, and it has been a minute, but we are back. We have lots to talk about, and I'm sure you're going to be super interested this week. So we got all new Xtina's Depravity Corner this week, as usual. We're going to talk a little horror. We're going to talk a little bit about everything here. We're going to tell you about our trip to DC. In fact, let's just get right into it. Let's tell everybody about our trip to DC there, Xtina. By the way, my ride or die, Xtina.
Hi, folks. Let's tell you about our trip to DC. Well, yeah, where do I begin? It wasn't fun. It was way more stress than it was fun. We went with the intention of going to the Awesome Con, which was probably anything but awesome. The Awesome Con this year was extremely special because it was the anniversary of Back to the Future. And, what was it, the 30th anniversary, dear?
Great Scott! Yes, I think it was.
Yes. So who was there but the guys themselves, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. So what does this dummy do? Buys Balls a gift to go see them. And what a gift it was. Woo! So my thought process was, well, the pandemic seems to be, smoothing out. Things are coming to a close. We were getting back to normal here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There were no mask issues. There were lots of people getting vaccinated. So I thought, wow, by the time, this rolls around, we're going to be good as gold. Yeah, now there's the Delta variant, and DC takes that shit real serious, which, okay, props to them. However, this does not make for a fun trip. Now it is masking everywhere. It is, placards of plastic in between you and celebrities, where normally you'd be able to at least, say hi to them, make eye contact, have like 30 seconds worth of chit chat that makes your life complete. And yeah, you got none of that. So that was a disappointment. Getting around DC is, not fun. Not fun at all. I know you're supposed to take the metro. I don't feel like I'm smart enough to know how to take the metro and where to get off and what time and where to switch trains. And that stressed me out more than just driving. So I did that. However, you can't park anywhere. There's nowhere to park. When you do find a place to park, it's $30 to park. Even if you're there for like an hour. It's ridiculous. So then you got to walk 5 miles. And, we aren't big fans of walking. So, wasn't exactly our cup of tea, as you may say. But, there were some highlights. Would you like to give them a few highlights, Balls?
You know what? As difficult and as weird as Awesome Con was, I had some highlights at Awesome Con. It was nice to meet the dude from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes,
John Heater was actually very cool, very nice, and very welcoming. Whenever we met Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, I would liken it to the dollar dance at a wedding. Whenever you get to dance with the bride, and then they have the lady with the spoon and the can, and after 3 seconds she's like ding 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 next. And that's exactly how that was. And the people working at con was very, very rude and high-strung, and nobody was really all that friendly. I mean, and really nobody knew anything at all. We'd ask one person how to get somewhere, and they would tell us one thing. We'd ask a totally different person that worked there at the same thing,
and they would all send you a completely different direction. And this place is massive, so we were hightailing it around this place, and
we came this close.
We're not in the most great shape, people. A little obvious, but hey, we were lucky we made it out of there alive.
Yeah, I know it was pretty rough.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
And I give them credit for following such strict guidelines with the pandemic and all, but there was other people I wanted to meet, like Christina Ricci, and I seen how impersonal and ridiculous it was meeting them guys. I'm like, it's really not worth wasting money to meet anybody else, because it was like there's a big inch thick plastic strip between you and them, and then you had to wear a mask and they have to wear a mask, and I'm like, when you get the picture, it's gonna look like Where's Waldo. Nobody's gonna know who is who or what is what. So I'm like, It's kind of pointless. So I think it's great they take things that seriously, but I don't know. It just doesn't make for a very good time.
We did attend a Back to the Future panel, which was pretty sweet.
That was probably the highlight.
That was the highlight.
Because, I mean, you got to see... And it wasn't... I don't even think it's Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox's fault at all. I think it's just an ill-run convention, and they handled it improperly. And because when you see the Q&A with them, it was very, very nice. And
they seemed very peppy and personal.
And they told some, very touching and heartfelt stories, and it was
great.
That was great. I wasn't real happy having to walk 20 miles to see the Lincoln Memorial, but I'm glad she pushed me because that was a highlight of our trip. I mean, that was nice. I mean, and at the time, it's like I work in the heat. I'm on my feet all the time, and it's like walking on vacation is not much of a vacation to me.
No, it's really not.
Especially when it's 90-some degrees and the humidity is like 100 and blah, blah, blah.
It felt like 120-degree humidity.
So, yeah, but I mean, in retrospect, I'm glad you pushed me to see some of the shit we've seen. I wasn't a big fan of the Smithsonian. I know everybody seems to like it, but I'm not a big history dude, so it made, a lot of the pop culture stuff, it's very few and far between. But I have to say you went above and beyond the Call of Duty to try to make a very nice trip for you and your family, and I think that's very admirable, and I thank you for that. I appreciate the effort. Got a nice picture with them guys regardless, and got my incredible buddy Doc Ivan to do a little doctoring up to it to make that pesky divider disappear in the middle, so it sort of looks like they wanted to be next to us. So,
sort of.
And other than that, we ate a couple cool places. You know, and really,
you got to see the Exorcist stairs. That's big news.
I'll tell you what, that was
people. There's the other highlight.
As ridiculous as it sounds, that was probably one of the biggest highlights of the whole trip to me. And even then, nothing ever. I shot a little segment for the show here, which I'll probably tag on to this at the end here. But I mean, I didn't realize when we went to see the Exorcist steps, I thought it would be nerds like me flocking from all over the country and be like, holy cow, this is where The Exorcist was filmed. Here, I didn't realize it was the hot local workout spot.
Yeah, Meathead Central. Let's run.
We're climbing to the top to get a picture, and I'm doing a little thing, and then I didn't realize, there's people, doing calisthenics and running up and down the stairs, and it's like, of all places you would pick, why would you pick The Exorcist stairs?
Yeah,
as
you
your
think
local workout clause, I'm like, it was very, very,
creepy.
Very odd, very peculiar,
strange,
but that was a highlight, and that was probably it.
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go.
But it was nice to get away for a few days, and now we're back, and we got some stuff to talk about. We watched a bunch of things here.
We sure have.
Well, let's just start off with, I tell you what, it's a very polarizing thing.
And I don't know why.
But we went to see the Candyman remake. I personally loved it.
Me too.
In fact, we've seen a couple racially charged films in the past few weeks, and I liked both of them. But Candyman, I thought was something really special, and for the reason that I love the original. I think it's a classic to me anyway, and anything that actually respects the source material actually develops a mythos that's not mind-numbingly stupid to me, and broadens the story, I'm all about. And I think it did all that. I think Nia DaCosta is definitely someone to look out for. I am super happy, excited, and proud to see a young black woman completely take over the box office. And the only thing that bothers me about this is everybody thinks this is Jordan Peele's film. And, that bugs me. It's not.
He had some production credits.
He produced, he co-wrote the script, but
it's not technically his film.
So, if I was her, I'd be like, motherfucker, this is my film. But, I know a lot of stupid people are like, it's too woke and there's too, horror has always been a reflective mirror to societal issues and problems, at least some of the best. I mean, you can go all the way back to the original Night of the Dead, which is an allegory for race relations, or you can go to Dawn of the Dead, which is a consumerism. I could list tons of horror movies that are reflective to the societal problems of their decade. And so when I hear people complain, oh man, this is just too much preaching, and it's ridiculous, because that's what it's supposed to be. So I mean, I'm not going to go dwelling on it. I'm not.
I thought it was thought it was great. I thought it was well done. It's not a reboot. It's like a sequel.
Yeah,
of
a direct sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
It happens like 30 years later. It
it
even
was
takes
really
place
neat.
in all the same place as the first one.
Right.
You even see the original cast in some capacity. I don't know what else people would want. Like you'd have to if you're a fan of the first one. I don't know how you couldn't enjoy this. So.
Right.
I don't know if people just went in wanting a big dumb slasher movie and they were disappointed that they actually kind of had to make them think a little bit.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe that was it, but
Yeah.
I personally thought it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely looking forward to see what she does next.
Absolutely.
Next up, we watched another, racially driven film, Karen. It was actually, you know what? I mean, whenever I heard they're making a movie about Karens, I thought, I'm like, this is going to be ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I have to say, it was kind of enjoyable. Taryn Manning plays Karen.
Karen.
And
she's the Karen.
I have to
for
say,
sure.
she's pretty good at being a Karen and being pretty terrifying. I mean, that being said, I mean, another film, you go into and it's another make you kind of think about
Right.
things kind of thing. And I mean, I don't think this movie is great by any means. But
No, but it was good to watch. It was entertaining for sure.
am I boring you?
I apologize. Oh God. You can crop that. It was, it was interesting it was almost like a horror version of a Lifetime movie, I guess you would say.
Yeah, it really was.
And I understand, I think it was produced by BET, so that makes sense, that it would be like that. But,
I think they're parent companies, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I would definitely watch it, especially if you, don't understand or even do understand the plight of, black people today and why they do get frustrated with, the way things are and the way people are. And, I too used to be ignorant and think, well, I didn't have any slaves. Yeah, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't understand why films like this make white people so uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure if you were in their shoes and you faced this, constant
oppression,
oppression for decades,
no reason.
like, I'm sure you would feel the same way. Like,
Right.
I mean, I love the fact that people are more, up to change.
Right.
I mean, but it ain't gonna happen overnight, and I do think things like this is important to, show and never forget just how ridiculous racism really is.
True.
So, I mean, I think films like this are important. I don't know why white people get their feathers ruffled so much over this stuff. I mean, it's true.
Because it's true.
I think people just hate seeing the truth.
Right.
And so I highly recommend both of these films, especially Candyman. I think that one really was done well, super well. But
a film I really recommend that we saw recently. If you haven't seen Don't Breathe, please see that now. Because Don't Breathe 2 is out. And it's equally as incredible, if not, dare I say, better than the first. I might go there. I absolutely love this film. The guy who plays the lead,
Stephen Lang,
is a blind man, and he, is basically constantly getting, like, I'm so sorry, people coming to his house to try to, I guess he's an easy target for, like, robberies and whatnot, right? So they pick on him, but he's not. He's actually quite the badass. And this kind of takes a different, detour, I guess, if you will. And it shows him in a different light. Again, not giving away too much if you haven't seen the first one. It's just a very unique film, and it really makes you go, what the heck is going on? One of these things, because, you just never know what's going to happen next, and you think he's a good guy, then maybe he's not a good guy, and then maybe he is a good guy.
In the first one, he's clearly not a good guy.
Right.
But he's definitely not the bad guy. I mean, they break in to rob him, and then they're, whether they're going to kill him or whatnot, but he turns the tables. But I mean, he's still not a hero. He's not he's a villain. And I was a little concerned how they're going to pull this off because he is such a villain in the first movie.
Right.
How are you? I didn't want him to be like glorified. You know, I hate when movies glorify the villain.
True.
Like in,
right. You don't want that either. Right.
But I mean, I was very surprised on how this movie could do. You know, what ways it's going to pull it off, and I have to say, the story that they pulled off is incredible.
Wild.
And you know, you can't really talk too much without spoiling, so I won't. But they definitely pull it off. It's definitely got some great action and kills. I mean, this movie isn't boring from the very first frame to the last frame. It doesn't take time to get established. It's just there. Like, it's a bullet train from the beginning to the end.
Absolutely.
Pretty, keep you on the edge of your seat. And, I mean, I'd watch Stephen Lang read the phone book. So, I mean, I love that guy. We watched another little movie called Demonic. That was Neil Blomkamp's new movie, if you've ever seen District 9, or I think Chappie, I think he did. But I was waiting for this. This is kind of like his return to like indie horror, and it had a very unique premise. Like, it almost reminded me, what was that movie we watched? Cronenberg's son did. You remember? Possessor.
Yes.
It reminded me a lot of the concept of Possessor, but it was kind of different. Like this this woman goes, to this treatment place,
right?
Because her mom is, like
catatonic.
So they plug her into this thing, and it puts her into her psyche.
Right, and then it almost looks like you're like in a PS4, PS5 video game.
But it's not cheesy. Like
no,
that
it's
kind
really
of
cool.
stuff. It's the kind of, I mean,
the way they incorporated it. I don't like CGI. Well done.
I don't like those kind of things. But this was kind of such a revolutionary looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't bother me. And I mean, she goes in to help her mom get out of this coma, and wackiness ensues. So, I mean, that's really all you could say. But, I mean, it was a very interesting and revolutionary kind of film.
Very different, yeah.
Very, if you're looking for something kind of different in the horror genre and you want a new premise, this was kind of a fresh take on a premise for sure.
Definitely.
So I recommend that. I thought it was pretty cool. What else did we watch? I'll tell you something that I'm excited for is James Wan this Friday. Malignant comes out. I've been waiting for that. That's his new return to horror and his take on Giallo, which I think is going to be interesting. So check that out. There's a horror anthology coming out here in a few weeks called Bad Candy with Zach Galligan from the original Gremlins. Anthology movie. I think there's 5 stories. I'm always a sucker for those, and I think that's always fun during the holidays. Plus, we have the return of Creep Show at the end of September here for Halloween. I think that's going to be badass.
That'll be good. Lots
of stars in this one this season. I think Michael Rooker, not to mention a bunch of other people. That should be cool. Balls was highly disappointed with another delay of Ghostbusters. Only didn't hang myself this time because it's only 1 week, folks. And once you think about why, it kind of makes sense. Marvel's churning out their next crap movie for the 565th film they put out this month. And I mean, I enjoy a lot of that stuff, but I mean, it's getting ridiculous. Like, do you have to put out 15 movies a month now? Like, so I guess there's another one coming out, and that would have competed with the Ghostbusters. So Sony just decided to say, fuck it, let's wait a week until that premieres and all the nerds get that shit out of their systems. So nerds like me could go to the IMAX and see Ghostbusters in peace.
Woo!
So good call, Sony. I'm actually not that disappointed. It's for the better. So other than that, for Halloween, we have another Joe Bob special coming up, Joe Bob's Halloween Hootenanny, which the marathon is going to be all serial killer films, so I'm curious to see what he plays.
Neato.
Hoping he plays Henry, because Xtina hasn't seen Henry yet, and I'd like to see her check it out with Joe Bob's commentary. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So,
heck yeah.
Other than that, the only other thing I have left is I am absolutely loving the new Cat Bite album. Just got that in the old mail. And I'm sure my neighbor cutting the grass that's fucking my show up now loves it too.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Hopefully y'all don't hear that, but anyway.
But anywho,
we'll get
run out and get the new Cat Bite album. Nice one. Super great album. If you're into ska as much as we are, you're going to love it. And other than that, we just have a brand new Xtina's Depravity Corner. Hopefully it's about a guy that gets killed cutting his grass that fucks people shows up. That would be great. Do you have one that week, this week, that talks about that?
I don't think this is quite a bit different. It's a little far-fetched, more so than that. I mean, unless this guy here is in QAnon, maybe? I don't know.
He looks like it.
He looks like it.
Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Oh, Jesus. So, apparently, there's this beautiful city in California. Never been, but I know it's beautiful. Santa Barbara. It just sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Plus, I used to love the soap opera Santa Barbara. And, I pretended I was going to live there and, anyway, be a rich girl and all this crap. But anyway, if you don't know about Santa Barbara, it's a rich area up in between San Francisco and Los Angeles, probably a little further, way further south than San Francisco. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject. If you live in this area, you know that surfing is a way of life. Surfing is your life. So there are a lot of surf schools, but one of the greatest surf schools was owned by a gentleman, Matthew Taylor Coleman, and his lovely wife, Abby. They moved there, started laying their grounds down and became very high-profile people, instructors in the community, teaching all these kids how to surf. Then they started a family. Super devout Christians, well-respected in the community. People love them, love going to their surf school. And so much so that, one day this man disappeared with the kids, and the wife is terrified, but not because she's afraid of him or anything. He's, the love of her life, great guy, great dad. Just worried about him because he went somewhere with the kids, didn't really say where he was going, and she kept trying to call him. He wasn't answering. So what does a wife think? Hey, I better call the police. Like, what if they were in a wreck? So she calls the police, and they say, hey, not much we can do. Do you have like a way to ping his phone or something? So she pings his phone, and it pings in Mexico. Again, geography. Santa Barbara down to Mexico, good 6-hour drive. Why is your wonderful, loving husband taking your children? And let me tell you, these children are 2 years old and 10 months old. They're babies. They're basically babies. They're not even real kids yet. So yeah, why would he be doing this? Who knows? Oh, I know, because his kids have obtained their mother's serpent DNA, and they are going to become evil monsters who must be disposed of immediately. So this man, normal man, Christian, wonderful, loving surf teacher man, loving husband, drove his kids 6 hours south to Mexico to kill his children with a spearfishing gun, because they were going to become monsters. Because they gained his wife's serpent DNA. Turns out, Mr. Coleman has been secretly delving into the world of QAnon and has become completely and utterly brainwashed by QAnon. And again, I have no idea, no desire. I know it's some evil, like the Illuminati and all this stuff, and it's, I guess, fake. I mean, you probably know more about that stuff than I do, but it's all conspiracy stuff, conspiracy theories, right? And it's somehow tied to maybe religion in a way. I guess it's whatever the person who's trying to convince you of what it is, what wants it to be, essentially, right?
I don't follow any of the bullshit.
Right, it's all cuckoo, crazy, wackiness stuff. So when they find out that this man is missing, they, of course, put out a search for him. And now, they find out he checked into a hotel. So he, and again, you can claim mental illness. Sure, let's say he really lost his marbles. And I'll give him that much. But at what point do you not realize you are physically driving to Mexico? He physically drove them to a hotel where they checked in for the night, spent the night, Next morning, got up, did the deed, and then went back to the hotel alone with no kids. I guess cleaned himself up and got back on the road to head back to California, back to his home, to his wife, who I'm going to assume was probably next on the list, being that the serpent DNA supposedly was in her. So, luckily, it didn't get that far. Luckily, the cops spoke in Santa Barbara to the cops in Mexico, and they got him at the border. As soon as he was trying to cross back into the border, into America, they got him, and he told them everything. And that's why we know what we know so far, because he told them. He's like, you don't understand. My kids were going to be monsters. Like, so he's that crazy, like, that he's not only admitted to doing this, but he's really sticking to this story. So I understand this happened about maybe August 10th, August 11th. So it's been a few weeks here. I understand he's going before the judge here in a couple of days. So we're going to find out, I guess what charges are going to be pushed against him. I mean, obviously murder one, I would imagine. But since he's admitting it, is he pleading guilty? Is he pleading insanity? These things remain to be seen. And, getting back to the wife, I mean, most people, see this sort of thing coming, or, there was abuse in the past, or there was this poor woman, God bless her, had no signs of anything wrong in their marriage and their kids and anything. And this poor woman is just as in shock as the rest of the community. And now she has no kids, and her psycho husband can go F off. I'm sure she feels that way too, but like, how do you get through it? I don't know, but sure will be interesting one day if we can get, see her have an interview, because boy, would I love to hear what she has to say. I can't even imagine. It's just bonkers. So yeah, follow this story if you haven't already, because it's going to get even more interesting, I'm sure, as the court processes start and as more people start coming forward and talking about it. So anyway, watch out who your kids learn to surf from. They could become potential murderers one day. You never know.
Or they become snake children. You never know.
Snake children, yes, indeed. Yeah. Wild shit. What do you think, Balls?
How does one become a snake child?
I have no idea.
How do you pick up on that? You wake up one morning and they're sitting across the table eating cereal and...
I know. And these kids are beautiful. We'll put up some pictures.
You're like, yeah.
Of course, beautiful kids.
I'm on to you, kid.
Yeah.
You're a snake guy now.
Give me a break.
Like,
I mean, I don't know. They're probably better off dead than growing up in Mexico anyway, but I was going to say, just give them to somebody in Mexico then. I don't know. Let them.
And why do you have to take kids to Mexico to kill them?
Well, I think he felt like he could get away with it. This is what they think. People like this think that. I think he thought.
The mom first.
Yes, that's another thing that's kind of weird. If she's the one who is containing this serpent DNA, why was she spared? Which, thank God she was, but I don't know. We'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
And I don't think we ever will know. And no matter how much this man talks, no matter how many psychologists examine him, it's just never going to make any sense. Never. There's no way to make sense of this, ever. So, I mean, I guess you could say Satan took over him. And again, is that a thing? Can that happen?
That seems like a cop-out.
Right. I mean, true. So
I think a lot of people know what they're doing. They just blame that kind of shit.
Right.
They're like, I was temporarily insane. I was possessed by the devil.
Right. And I do believe that can happen, and it does sound like something to that degree surely did happen to him, but he still consciously got himself to Mexico and consciously killed his kids. So where there's such a fine line between insanity and reality. So how you can fight that one is beyond me, and God bless any lawyer who's going to try, because I sure as hell couldn't do it. Wouldn't have the patience, wouldn't have the gusto or whatever without, to not even that, just to even try the case, but to not like strangle the guy, Anywho, I don't know, Balls. I think that's enough depravity for one day.
Yeah, I think Snake People's just about did it for me.
That's about it, huh?
That's definitely wasn't... you brought your A game today, Xtina.
I know. Been holding that one in for a while, Balls.
But up next, I actually want to show you something that we do like about DC. I had an interview with my boys, the Pietasters, at the Craft House last time they came in. They gave us a good hour to sit back and we talk about everything. We talk about human burritos, we talk about horror movies, music, you name it. So, you know, don't miss my interview with the Pietasters cats. It's coming right up next. Till then, we'll see you next week. Peace and love, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Hey now, cats, we're back again this week in the Balls from Ellwood show, and I have the pleasure, the absolute pleasure, I've loved these motherfuckers since high school. And with me today is Steve Jackson and the rest of the Pietasters. And
Jeremy, Alan, John Kwan.
Thank
Sorry
you.
to interrupt.
No, please. No, that's cool,
Should we
man.
start over?
No. No, I need help, man. But I just wanted to do a little retrospective here. I mean, you guys have been around forever, and you've consistently made amazing ska soul music. And I wanted to do I want to delve a little bit in the past, the present, and the future of the Pietasters. So first off, what would you say is the biggest difference between the band from when you first started as to now?
We're employed now.
We all have
jobs.
We're old. Yeah. That's the biggest difference: is age and weight.
Does that like play a factor now? I mean, is it harder to perform like now that you're
No, actually, I think we're better as
Yeah.
performers than when we definitely are than when we started.
It's not the playing part; it's everything else involved in touring.
The driving to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. When we were younger, it made a lot more sense to jump in the van and go for a month or whatever it might be away from home.
And when carrying shit was new, it was fun.
Well, speaking of that, can you give me a little background as to how it was when you first started?
Well, we just started, when we very first started, we were just a bar band in a college in Virginia Tech, and so we were just playing for beer and playing parties and things like that, and we were active in the ska community in DC, and there were some like DJ nights, and we would jump up and play with our friends the Skunks, or like the Toasters might be coming through town, and we didn't have any pretensions about having a music career or anything. We were just playing parties and drinking beer and having fun. So I guess that's.
I can remember the first time that I heard ska music, and it became, I knew it was going to be in my life forever. I'm sure you guys all have that same, I must call it the chasing the dragon moment, where you first heard it and you've embraced it the rest of your life. Can you remember the first time you heard ska and who it was?
Can I take this one?
Yeah, sure. I got a good one too.
Jeremy called me from Oregon. We're lifelong friends, and was like, "Hey, I've been touring with a ska band. You want to play?" And I played the saxophone at the time, and I think I had heard the word before. I thought that ska was the Clash and the Police, and so they sent me to Smash in DC to go get the record, because it was like the independent record store, to get the first Pietasters album. So that was the first ska album I ever listened to, and I thought it was great. It was way different from anything else I was listening to at the time, but I like funk and soul and stuff like that, so it kind of fit in as far as a horn player in that sense, and that was it. Then I got to learn about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
How about you?
So, very similar story. Slightly before that, this guy that was with the jazz band at the college I was going to said, "Hey, you want to come to a practice for the ska band, which is the Pietasters?" I was like, "Sure." He said, "Learn these," and he gave me their first records. It was literally Pietasters' first record. It was the first ska I ever heard. And it was crazy because there's all these horns on it and shit, and I was like, whoa, they're doing horns instead of guitars, they're doing horns instead of synthesizers. It's kind of like polka? What the fuck is that? I'm not sure I understood it from the recording, actually, but then we played our first show. I played my first show with the band, and it was crazy. Like, everybody was like hot and sweaty and dancing, and I had my little cheat sheet because it was my first show, and I'd only put in maybe 3 practices with them. I taped it up on the little speaker and got excited and ready to like just do my little thing and play my little thing, and we busted in a freak show. It was like one of the first songs, and the crowd lurched forward and pushed over the speaker stack, and my notes were going, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm liable from now on. Yeah.
He's got a good ear, and so like we're all from different. I'm older than they are. And
oh, okay.
Like I said, we started as this party band, and we were in bad punk bands. and we weren't idealistic enough, or we didn't have like what was the Clinton years, the Tony Blair years. Things were on the upswing. Everybody's getting along, and it's like, what do we have to be angry about? We're suburban kids, you know. We're not going to put on this punk facade. And our friend Tal was always hanging out where we were trying to be this punk band, and he's like, we listen to Bad Manners and the Specials, and why don't we play some of those songs? And okay, and so we added some of those to our set and played a house party, and people were dancing and drinking beer, and we're like, okay, they seem to like this, and so we added a few more, and it just fit our personalities and our mission for having fun more than being a rage-filled punk band.
The band I was in before this, I was playing bass, and we were sort of like this
angsty.
Long story. Started off as like this, playing Cure songs and stuff, and all the girls loved it. And then by the end, we're like into Pantera and Rollins Band, and like couldn't get a single girl to come out to any of our shows. And then so it's like, oh, this is party music. This is like kind of music everybody likes.
And like he said, like the Police and the Clash, it's like there's ska in so many different things. I mean, so many different bands that everybody just knows from classic rock radio, and then
it's funny because people that don't even know ska, like they've heard it, they just don't know it. Because like you could be like, oh, people that listen to music in the '80s, and they're like, oh, Madness was ska. Madness, Our House, really? Like you tell people that was ska, and they're like, oh, okay.
My boy lollipop. I mean, that was a crazy oldies hit that was always on Extra 104.
Yeah,
and
Billy
like,
Small.
This is a ska song.
The other tune that does that for me is the Zombies' Time of the Season. And again, not
that's a
ska,
great song.
but kind of like Mod Soul, that like you would never understand what a groovy and like funky band they were from that. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, that was the big one.
And even like Billy Joel will throw in he'll throw in the whole phrase like it'll totally be ska.
So you're younger though. So when did you get into what?
I actually had a friend that worked at a record store, and she turned me on the ska. The first ska, well, quote unquote ska CD I bought was the first Scofflaws. And that pretty much after that,
the second one for me.
that was like, I just got the vinyl for Record Store Day. They just pressed Jump Up Records just put out a really nice. But that once I heard that, I'm like, wow, like you said, it's like this is like, it's like nothing you ever heard of before, and it just like kind of. After that, I became a sponge. I just wanted to like soak up everything.
And Scofflaws is a great first band because Sammy's like the consummate showman, and he always had great musicians in the band. And their songs pull from like the traditional ska and the two-tone ska. But that's a great band.
And then I became a sponge after that. I found you guys. I found Bruce Lee Band. I started getting an Asian Man and all that stuff, and it just went from there. And then the Scatolites. Then you go back to traditional, and then. It was just a sponge for everything ska, and like it's still ever present. It'll be my life forever.
What was that, 94?
In fact, my wedding band.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we did the Ska Movie '94 with the Toasters and the Scofflaws, and
Quick plug.
it was a long tour.
Scofflaws '94 era. I think I've learned more. I think I learned more from them on that tour about this kind of music than anything. Personally.
Yeah, because they had Vic Rice was in the band,
Vic,
and John
Buford,
Soldo. I mean, these were like heavy hitter New York.
Paul
like,
Gephardt.
It was like a super group.
It really was.
They're all still there.
Well, and then
Was it Ben Klingberg?
And then the Toasters were on that
Ben was
too,
there.
and they were a super group at the time
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. Absolutely.
They had Sledge, and they had Steady
Steady
Freddy,
Freddy,
New York Ska Jazz,
and Rick Faulkner,
And the drummer, John
McCain,
Yeah.
and
It was a
Matt
crazy
Malice
tour.
on bass.
Not well attended, but fucking great.
Fantastic.
You had mentioned aging before. I want to ask you, how do you guys think the scene has changed from when you started as opposed to now? Is there a big difference?
Easier to get weed now.
Much easier. We don't have to worry so much about getting
Yeah,
cold.
but my joints don't have to ache quite as long.
You have glaucoma, right? Everyone has glaucoma nowadays.
I think it's kind of the same. Like the music is different, just like 90s ska is different than 80s ska is different than 60s ska. But there are these like bands like Catbite from Philadelphia and Bad Time Records. And
You played their wedding.
we did play their wedding.
Yeah.
And so there's like this subculture of people that love the music and they know the history of the music, even if what they play doesn't sound like Hepcat or the Specials or Alton Ellis. They still respect it and they know it, and I don't know, man. I think it's still a healthy scene.
I like the fact that there's a resurgence again. I mean, a lot of stuff with the Bad Time Records stuff is taken off, and there's almost like a new, I guess, fourth wave coming. So I mean, that's
when we were young, there were some places you would roll into that you wouldn't expect, like, I don't know, Charleston, South Carolina, or someplace in Florida where there's just this entire scene of like sharp skinheads and mod girls and stuff that you might be able to find a handful of those people in DC, but like in one of these towns there's
Scooters,
the whole
line of scooters.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
and they all would dress the same and all that kind of thing. I don't think maybe that's there quite as much because there's a lot more blurring of the lines these days, but and people picking up things on the internet and all that.
Oh yeah, that's a big difference. The internet.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because do you find that's like a detriment now, or do you find that's a good tool for people to discover you guys or to hear you?
We're not particularly good at social media.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how many people discover us, but
I like to accentuate the positive. It's great. It's a great way for you to get your music out and to network and make friends and all. But there's so much toxic bullshit that, like, I don't think any of us are on social media other than a cursory Twitter account.
I try to keep up with Facebook just to know what bands are on tour and stuff. But
if it wasn't for social media, I probably wouldn't be playing with it.
yeah.
John Quan's playing organ for us on this run, but he's a rock star in his own right. From the Virginia Beach area, he's getting ready to take Europe by storm with that. When is it? Friday the single drops?
Fridays.
Tell them all about it.
Oh, this is your.
No, man, please.
It's different. It's not ska though.
It's
There is
reggae.
a ska
It's a
tune
great
on the
band.
thing. It's a reggae album I made over the pandemic.
What's it called?
John Quan and Associates. Easy Star Records picked it up and is going to put it out.
It's gonna be huge.
I got Carlton Livingston, Screechy Dan, Sammy Dread, a bunch of old Jamaicans.
Nice,
on
man.
it.
That's awesome.
Just kind of like pay homage to the older guys and actually pay them for their work and not rip them off and just take their shit and go.
See, it's funny you brought that up, because last time I talked to you, you talked about Spotify.
Old guys?
No, Spotify and how unfairly they treat artists and they don't pay them anything for their music. I mean, is it still like that?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm going through that now.
That's
with
so
that release.
shitty.
You have to like get your shit playlisted the right way,
And
in
you have
order,
to do
like,
it. You
have to.
It's
Have
not.
to play
It's
it.
not like you can't put the link up.
See, I don't think people realize that's going on. Like, is there the way that us as fans could support bands where the money's going to go
Bandcamp is
directly?
the better of any of the. From what I understand, Bandcamp gives the most.
I know on Bandcamp Fridays it goes directly to the artist, and I do a lot of that. But
My
I mean,
merch from web stores on from
My
the band's
choice.
page.
There's that, of course. Yeah, buying merch from their pages. My feeling is the lesser of two evils is Apple Music, because Apple does so much for creative people, and I make all my music on Apple.
Yeah.
Some of which are really fairly priced, and as much as people will say Apple's expensive, yeah, but
You get a lot for
Universal
it.
audio.
I use an EDU discount. I got all their multimedia packages for $200.
wow, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and so I think that Apple encourages creatives and musicians and all that sort of thing. I think Spotify is literally just there to take their money and
What's the story with Patreon? Does anybody know anything about Patreon?
yeah, you just get members.
Yeah, you start something and you give them exclusive content, and then they take so much a month. And then for every tier, you could charge like 10, 20, 40. And the higher tier, I know it does. And the higher the tier, the more
It's like a never
you give them. Yeah, kind of, yeah.
It's like if you want to support what we do and you want special access to stuff, occasionally we might print a shirt that we send out to our Patreon.
Or like
people or
podcasts will
whatever.
do like a free one each week, and then they'll have additional content on Patreon.
They have
And
subscribers.
yeah, or you can
So
buy
it's direct the
a la
consumer,
carte.
like the
Yeah.
end
Yeah.
user straight to the art.
Or there'll be exclusive shows you can only hear if you are a Patreon. So.
What I think is funny though is I'm watching YouTube and I'm already watching a 15-minute video on how to do something. It's like, if you want to see all the details on this, go to Patreon. It's
That's like when you're watching a really bad porno, and then they
Yeah,
cut
all
right
the
when you're
parts
ready to
here.
nut, and they're like, if you want to see the rest, go to,
I'm already done.
I was done 15 minutes ago. When you guys aren't listening to ska, what are some of your favorite guilty pleasures?
Guilty pleasures?
Well,
I don't think there's any guilt in music.
jerking
Well,
off after pornos
I
are
got
finished.
That's,
all right, who does that? I
Are you
don't
talking
give-
about music that we
Yeah,
listen to? Or?
I was, but I mean, I guess we could go into another.
Who sings that I don't give a fuck about you song?
Oh,
oh,
Little Sean.
Little Sean.
Little Sean.
Big Sean.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck about you. Anything you do.
Steve has a soft spot for Kanye West, and I hope he doesn't mind me
Well,
saying
do I.
just some of his songs
Yeah.
and his insanity.
Some of them
I
are
love
brilliant.
And then
Well, that's like watching a circus, of course.
there's this guy Cuco, this Mexican drug rapper, and he's
I
like,
heard him, man.
Yes.
I grew up, when I was younger, I was super into hip hop before I discovered ska. So, I mean,
dude, I mean,
It's that new hip hop where it's like,
I don't like
you know,
new hip hop.
somebody in their bedroom
I still
with
listen to the same shit I listened to, like, you know, when I was like in 8th grade. Like Public Enemy and
Actual hip-hop.
But
yes,
honestly,
actual
it's
hip
their
hop. not like yes, exactly. Not mumble rap and all that other bullshit. Like when they actually had lyrical talent and.
This is more along the lines of sort of the Macklemore, like you know, talking about real subjects and
Like the
or
thrift
like,
shop.
you know, real life, like white people subjects. You know, what I
Taylor
mean?
Swift isn't a guilty pleasure.
Taylor
It's-
Swift?
Taylor Swift is like.
Is it a guilty pleasure? I don't really feel that bad about like. I don't feel bad about liking T Swizzle.
It could
It's
be a lot
alright.
worse than this.
It really
She
could.
writes her own music,
I'm a Swiftie.
catchy as shit.
Yeah.
I think she's alright, man.
Sophie Tucker. That's another guilty pleasure.
We listen to a lot of Britpop. That's a real
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, Blur. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Blur, Oasis,
Listen to
Ween,
bluegrass.
Ween.
Oh, bluegrass is great.
and I don't know if you'll eventually make it there, but most people that are where you are right now eventually make it around to reggae. It goes through the rocksteady and the rub-a-dub.
I still like reggae.
Next thing I know, you'll be listening to 80s dance hall and loving it. And
Hey,
yeah,
I'd be okay
it
with
happens.
Directly correlates how much weed you smoke.
I now own a Dub Siren. This is a true story.
I have one. I don't use it nearly as much
This
as I
is a true
should. But
story.
that Benny Dub one is cool, but it doesn't do many things. It does literally two
That's all
things.
you need it for. Attack and go.
And it's $250.
Yep.
Can you guys tell me what experiences that you've had over the whole time being in the band and how it's changed you as a person? Or has it?
We're going to need several more episodes to.
I might have to have you guys check in weekly.
Pay you $100 an hour to have this conversation.
One thing I can say unequivocally is before I was in this band, I didn't know how to be on time to anything, and now I'm on time or early to just about everything.
Early
Well, it's not a bad
sometimes
thing.
late.
Perpetually late, I can appreciate it.
If you're perpetually late in this band, you catch a hard time and eventually get fired.
It's taught me to be the most empathetic misanthrope that you could ever be. I love and hate everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like I probably get robbed more since being probably
Only in Barcelona.
try to stop people from shooting other people more.
Well, that actually leads me to my next question. Have you guys ever played and somebody's refused to pay you, and how do you handle that situation?
Oh, the ATM game. You take them to the ATM.
We've fucking poke walked so many promoters to ATM machines. I remember in England on that Slackers Pietasters tour, several nights a week, Dave and Marcus and I had to walk the promoter to an ATM machine and be like, get everything you can out.
The nicer
Get
you
it
are,
out.
the faster it goes, believe it or
Get
not.
it out now, and we won't fucking kill you. And
Wow. And that's a shame that you have to do that.
I can't believe, like, everyone you talk to, that they've all played the same game with you guys. Like, I don't,
We haven't had
It's
that
usually
issue in
Florida.
years.
It's usually kids.
has it ever come to blows?
well, one time in West Palm Beach, Florida, with Murphy's Law, we played, and we didn't get. There was, I don't know what, there was some argument about payment or whatever, and I remember.
The kid couldn't even afford to go to the store to. He wasn't old enough to go to the
buy
store
beer.
to buy
Buy
beer,
beer.
so he had to send someone to get our beer.
But he
So
could
we're
be a
in this
promoter.
parking lot, like, tonight.
Wow.
And they got a steel reserve.
And we're standing outside like this, and I'm arguing with him, and he's arguing, and he's got his line of guys, and we've got our line of guys, and I see our tour manager is standing behind him, and he picks up a center block, and I was like,
Oh, shit.
and I was like, Mike, put it down, and then we left, and we ended up getting, like, after the fact, but, I mean, the music business sucks. It's a shady, gross business, and
It's not getting any better.
Jimmy G was getting a blowjob the whole time.
yeah, he wouldn't. The next day, I was like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "I was getting a hand job at the bar, man."
Well, that's payment.
He got paid.
He got paid. No one else did.
I'm an up and coming promoter. I'm just trying to get established. You guys are rock stars. I'm sure
we're
you're doing
not.
fine. It's like, you fucking kidding? Anything? What is it? Anything divided by 8 is 0.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. If you're a ska band, nobody gets anything.
Dang.
what was interesting, we got a perspective on that. We watched that NoFX documentary.
Oh, yeah, what was that?
I mean, that really gives you like
was
a
it? Oh, Backstage Pass.
How many did they have?
perspective of what it's like to be in a band and not.
Who's that about?
It was a documentary. They did about. They went around the world like all over the place.
They held them hostage. And, like,
They got stiffed. Like it was almost the exact same story you told.
Where Fat Mike was snorting green powder. In
Yes.
somewhere in Asia?
Oh yeah.
I've seen that.
Oh yeah. It was on there.
It's a
Huh?
great
They
documentary.
were like, the drugs are here, and then he like tripped out, like snorting some green.
Oh yeah.
powder,
That's
like,
all.
neon
Oh, that's
green
on there.
shit. Yeah, I love that guy.
I love Fat Boy.
So you asked about the past, and that was everything from getting bonuses to ATM trips to walking away being like, all right, fine, we're not getting paid. Now it's all, we work with people that are mostly on the up and up, and you get deposits, and you know, it doesn't always work out. And sometimes, like, say there's a snowstorm, sometimes you have to have a little bit of compassion for the guy, you know. It's like,
You could tell who's fucking with you and who's not, probably.
yeah. But we're also the ones that drove to New Jersey in the fucking snowstorm to get there, so it's like kind of like, you know. Yeah.
And split nothing.
It's split nothing. I'm trying to remember a story. Did one of the Bostons get stabbed?
Yeah,
Because they
Joe
were-
Gittleman got stabbed in Italy because he was trying to shut down some
Bootleg merch.
Bootleg.
Holy shit.
The guy just fucking stabbed him and took his t-shirts and walked away.
And then the Americans went to jail, not the Italians.
Right.
That's crazy.
One time we played a show early in our career, and it was one of those, like, early on you have to play 3 sets, and you know you have to play all night long, and they're terrible clubs, and nobody cares that you're there.
Thanks, brother.
So after our first set, they said, "All right, you guys can load out, and we'll pay you." And okay, and we had 2 more sets, and we took our stuff out, and then they just locked the door and wouldn't let us back in. And we're like, "Well, that's kind of fucked up." And in retrospect, we did kind of suck, and we weren't right for the club. But it was funny. A few weeks later, our bass player, R.I.P. Todd, one of his friends came in, and he was like, "Hey, did you hear that club burned down?" Todd's like, "You didn't." He's like, "I didn't." So it's like,
Oh man, that's
I
hysterical.
hope that that's true. I never like went back to find out, or maybe it was a construction accident or something. But sometimes,
Jet ski.
If he can't pay his bands, maybe he can't pay his electricians either.
yeah, that's probably, it was faulty wire.
That is it. That's exactly.
What experiences have? Actually, let me rephrase this. What have you learned from your early experiences that makes you better performers today?
Wear earplugs.
Yeah, earplugs,
Yeah.
practice.
Yep. And there's some intangibles. Like, we used to get maced a lot more often than we get maced now. Somehow we've reduced the number of
Don't
maces.
play the acid game
Yeah,
before a set.
Don't play the acid game.
2 of the guys were playing this game when we were on tour with Ozone Motley and the Cherry Pop and Daddies, where they would try and slip acid to each other. And yeah, that was a long tour. And one of them quit smoking after an unintended very long trip.
Yeah, I couldn't walk either. I couldn't keep my
Oh
balance.
yeah, your equilibrium.
I couldn't keep my balance for like 3 days. But he got me real good because I.
Well, now we know who one of the people is.
What?
The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Had an eyedropper thing with liquid, and so I had gotten our bass player pretty good by laying out a swath of acid on him, and he wanted to get me back. So I was changing my clothes, and he squirted it in my ear.
Oh.
Eyedropper full of liquid.
Oh.
Him and Todd, he got Todd that one time, and Todd swore that he wasn't tripping, but he didn't come out of his bunk for like 3 days.
Demons are swirling. He put some in my steak and cheese sandwich one time in Richmond before the show. Thanks.
I don't know if you guys have ever met someone that makes so much fun of death and his own like mortality that like it's okay to make fun of him now that he's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of guy.
I met him before. He was awesome. He actually signed my Willis.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a character, man.
Yeah, he was
He
awesome.
reminds me so much of Jimmy Norton.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
Together with the sex stories and the crazy dark humor. I mean, when I hear some of the stuff that Jim Norton talks about, I'm like, are you Todd? Like, is there some
Reincarnate.
With Artie Langstruck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met him several times, man. He's a good dude. But man, he just
I
can't.
love this book.
He just can't get it together. I've heard he's been sober for 1.5 years now, though. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping it works out. That's a really self-destructive dude. He's such
Funny guy.
such a fucking nice dude, man. One of the nicest people I ever met.
It's cool,
But,
man.
So wait, what was the question?
Oh, what did we learn about horns? Oh, one thing about a horn player, you don't have to play as loud.
Oh yeah.
Like, we've totally learned not to just overblow everything, you know?
Oh, I learned if you don't have to haul a trailer, don't, because you get charged commercial rates if you get a trailer on the East Coast.
Yep.
So
Holy shit.
when you go to New York, you're like paying almost a semi truck's tolls because you have a dopey 4x6 trailer behind your stupid van.
Yeah.
So get a bigger van, put all the shit inside of it. That's
Yeah.
that's what I learned.
And you learn altitude
It is.
matters. Altitude matters. Like if you're in Breckenridge, the band might fall over.
Oh no.
We played Breckenridge, and one of the things, like, you're already in Denver at 5,000 feet, and then you go to Breckenridge at 11,000 or whatever, and you're at altitude, and if you do anything like sing or play an instrument, like, you run out of air
It's a different
instantly.
thing altogether.
And you can't get it back.
Yeah.
Once it's awful.
So we went that afternoon, we sat in an air bar and watched a football game, like a Virginia
With
Tech football game,
masks
and like sat there with masks
Like
on.
special
Would you like
chairs
Dennis
with
Hopper in Blue Velvet? Warm slutty, warm slutty.
And then we get to the gig, and they've got a tank backstage, and so we're all hitting it before we go on, and then we come off, and we're like, and our keyboard player, Dan, had left it on the entire set and drained the
that's
whole
right.
tank.
Oh man! But we had those little ones like from Spaceballs, like that you we've learned how to order off of bar menus and not get sick.
Really?
Knock on
I'm
wood.
not sure I'm there yet.
Now, what makes you sick when you order off a bar menu? Because I'd like to know.
Constant ordering.
Yeah.
Typically,
Pierogies.
stay
Oh,
away
wow.
from fried food if you're going to perform in that.
Have you ever had to stop the show to take a dump?
I had the flu in Florida. We all have, I think, and
I've definitely thrown up on stage
Yeah,
more
same.
than 10 times,
Oh, yeah,
probably.
same.
Like, not on stage, but like in a bucket or
In
a
the middle of
trash
the
can
show.
near the stage.
But yeah, I had the flu in Florida in this packed place, and I had to keep running from the stage to the back of the club to go and like shit or puke or whatever it was I was doing.
Man, how the fuck do you guys do it?
That was just, I was young and it was Florida, and it's this weird Florida bug you get down there. Jeremy got it first, then Steve got it, then I got it, and it makes you vomit like fluorescent green.
Yeah, it's shiny,
I don't know what it
like
was.
those flies.
So you're like Brundlefly.
Yeah. Eating flies.
Oh jeez.
So,
Can you guys name me a song that makes you feel something?
I can.
Oh yeah, Supreme set me free.
Like, what do you want? What kind of emotion? Sad, happy?
Yeah, what do you
Yeah, actually, anything really. I mean,
Today, they put the ring upon his door.
Yes.
By the end of that song, fucking crying, man.
that's what I'm talking about, man. Any sort of elicit of emotion.
The
I mean,
Highwayman song.
that Robin Thicke video with the naked girl gives me a boner.
oh, that's definitely a feeling.
Charles Bradley, Heartaches and Pain.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Frighteners. Gotta Make Time.
Todd Rundgren.
When I saw
Oh yeah,
the light in your eyes.
Whenever I hear that, I'm like, I'm listening to the perfect song.
Yep.
That's the feeling that I get right now.
I get it from certain Beatles songs that are like just enormous earworms. Like if I like, I'm gonna say it once. John Lennon, I'm Only Sleeping. Like I can't listen to that song because if I do, it will be in my head for the next 3 months.
across the universe.
That one kind of does it too, but not quite as bad as I'm Only Sleeping.
There's some Laz cuts like that for me too.
I said it
The
again.
Laz.
Yeah. But for sad ones, the Beatles, there are places I really.
Yeah. And there's
Like,
one
how did
Good
the young
Johnny
guy
Cash
write that
version.
fucking song, man?
after getting a fucking. And there's a Johnny Cash cut when he was close to death that he
Of doing
Yeah.
in my life.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, Johnny.
Yeah.
He was. Oh, he's so good.
When he does that,
Oh man, seriously.
He got sick. And then he got
amazing.
better, and we were so bummed. It was supposed to be in Colorado. It was going to be in Wyoming. We were going to open for Johnny Cash. And like 2 weeks before he got sick.
Oh, he was so good, man.
There's a bunch of James Brown stuff that really gets me going.
I had my Pietaster shirt on when I met Smokey Robinson, bro.
I remember you telling me
Oh,
that.
dude, he was awesome.
That guy's amazing.
What was the best gig and the worst gig you guys have ever played?
The worst one was Malmo, Sweden.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I can't really
You didn't even have to think about it.
We have a song about it. It's called
Malmo.
And it walks you through.
The details that aren't in the song were that basically the place was full of dance club people waiting for us to finish so that the dance
Like
club
glow
would
stick,
open.
like
exactly. And they were all just kind of like, but not like skinheads, like they were all just like dance people. They were just like
Uninterested Scandinavians.
And they fed us. Our dinner was a crock pot full of like mini hot dogs,
Swedish meatballs.
like in bean sauce, like
Wiener.
yeah.
There were 3 bottles of vodka and a bottle of gin, or 4 bottles of vodka and a bottle of gin, I think.
And a bunch
we
of Red
drank
Bull.
all of them before we went on.
Yeah. Well, so we drank the bottle of gin, and they were like, "How are you doing? Is everything okay?" So we were there all day too, which probably had to do with the drive and everything. But you know, we said, "Can we get another bottle of gin?" They were like, "Oh man, gin's really expensive." And we said, "Well, what about vodka?" And we're in Sweden, and they were like, "Oh yeah, vodka's no problem. Absolute." I was like, okay.
Cha-ching.
Gin's very expensive because of taxes, but
Well,
not
driving
absolute.
to that show, so we played in Germany the night before, and the guy gave us this shitty homegrown weed. It was in a Maxwell House container, and we're like, "Well, we're crossing the border." And he goes, "It doesn't matter. Don't fucking worry." And we're like, "Okay." And so I happen to wake up as we're getting to the border crossing. That's right before this bridge. That's the longest bridge that anyone's ever built, and I see all these dogs, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, man!" And so I go around, I get all the ashtrays, and I get all this stuff, and I throw it in the toilet, and I flush the toilet, and then the dogs come through, and they leave, and we're pulling away, and I go up to the bus driver, and I'm like, "Everything's cool?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, they didn't find anything." I was like, "Yeah, because I flushed." And he goes, "You flushed it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It goes straight through." And so I run back and I look, and all the dogs and the guys are pile of fucking shit. So that was the worst show.
I remember Carlos at soundcheck played Final Countdown, and the 4 or 5 people that were sitting at the bar listened to him play Final Countdown and left. 2 p.m., like much earlier.
Well, then I thought that if you were really drunk, if you took Xanax, it would just make you sleep through your drunk and you'd wake up. But it makes you walk in your sleep and piss on people. It started pissing, and Carlos goes, "You're not in the bathroom, Steve!" So I turned to go in the bathroom at European buses at 2 levels, and they have the stairs that go down, and I turned and fucking fell head first.
Oh,
The
shit.
bus driver came back, he's like, "Oh God, Steve's dead!" Oh God! So this is also our worst show. So our stupid fucking booking agent had booked this show in Sweden, and then we had to go all the way back to Holland for Pukkelpop or Lowlands, one of these big festivals. And we stuck in traffic because it's holiday weekend. When we finally get there, we've missed our set time, and they're like, "Don't worry, your record's doing good. We still want you to play." And we're like, "Okay." And they put us on. We're all hungover and strung out, and we go out on stage, and they're like, "Okay, Pietasters." And right as we go on, it's from the other stage, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Hot Chili Peppers!" And everybody just leaves. Like, all right, thank you.
I would have stayed.
So that was the best and the worst show.
Was Ween on that show?
That was.
Did we see Ween?
We did, but that was a different one.
that was
So,
different building.
I think that was at
Henry Rollins and Ween were at the catering to
Reading. I think that was at Reading.
So that would be the worst and best.
Yeah.
All mixed into one, 2 day.
We've had some really good shows. We played in Vegas with the Bosstones one time, where they hired a bunch of Oompa Loompas to come out on the stage in the middle of our set, which is sort of a Dickie. Dickie had been on Stern that day, or
Kimmel.
Kimmel.
I don't know. He got it in his head to hire 2 dwarfs that were
Was it
dressed
St.
up like.
Patrick's Day show or something, maybe?
I don't fucking know, but what Dickie
was at
wants,
the
he
Pearl in
gets.
Vegas, right?
And so we're just on stage doing our set to a packed out Bosstones crowd, and these 2 guys come walking out on stage. So we got all these photos smoking weed with them and stuff, and like, yeah. So that was pretty fun. I mean, opening for the Bosstones is always fun.
And Jimmy Kimmel was there, right?
And-
He playing bass clarinet.
Yeah. He
Oh
was.
man, that's
Sarah
awesome.
Silverman was there, like smoking all of her bomb weed, and I don't know if you remember, but when we got there, we walked in. carrying gear, and there's Dickie and Jimmy Kimmel, and Dickie's like, hey, Jack, come over here. So I come over, and he says, which one of the pie tasters is the most fucked up? And I was like, I don't know, right now? And they were like, whoa. But then in walks Al, and I walk away, in walks Al, and he's like,
He's got it a little backwards.
But throughout the
how's it
evening,
go? Yeah.
basically he asked each individual pie taster while no one else was around who was the most fucked up, and each pie taster said, right now? And Kimmel's like, is this a bit?
It was on first.
It starts out, I'm just walking down out of the green room, see what's up with sound check. They're doing their check, and there's Jimmy Kimmel and Dickie, and Jimmy's got a bass clarinet, and he's wearing a pork pie hat. And I'm like, all right, this is kind of funny. And Dickie goes, hey Al, come here and make Jimmy laugh. And I'm like, you want me to make the funniest guy on TV laugh? I was like, and that's when he's like, all right. Which one of the pie tasters is the most fucked up? And that's when it all started. And then Jeremy was a few minutes after that, and then like Steve said, it kind of went on. But it was just really funny. He was like, make him laugh. I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do to make Kimmel laugh?
These guys are hilarious. Jimmy, these guys are great. Okay, make them laugh.
Waka.
But we've had too many best shows because not to be like cliche or anything, but some of the best shows are at like Maxwell's in Hoboken, which is a maybe 150 seat room, and it's just packed full of people, and everybody's getting hit in the heads with beer cans, and it's
the food's like good, and everybody's just smoking weed, and no one cares, and it's just like
Ernesto's and Sittard, where again it's a bunch of Holland Dutch people that I don't know what they're saying, and they're having a great time, and they gave me mushrooms, and I fucking tore down the lights, and like that was the best show ever. Our 9:30 Club show, every year we do an annual show. Since like 1991 we've played every year at the 9:30 Club. They have a book about the 9:30 Club, and I think we're like the third most band that's played the most times at the
I still have the DVD from Live at 9:30 Club.
So, I don't know, man. There have been a lot of great shows, and then Mountain.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been stuck touring with a complete asshole band? And how did you get around it?
Yeah. I mean, we've butted heads, but I don't think we've ever really had anybody that we've had to tour with that we fucking hated. I mean...
Not hardcore hated.
As long as we're telling stories, I got one that I won't name any names, but
name them.
Skip the names.
Well, thankfully, at the end of it was the last day of the tour, and Steve, we were in Europe.
Oh, okay, I know the band.
And Steve's sister was there with her friend.
Oh, that.
And this guy was so drunk he lost his wallet, and he started assuming that it was accusing Steve's sister out of nowhere, because I guess she hadn't been on the whole tour or something. I don't know. But ultimately, the guy found his wallet on his bunk, which was kind of the grand finale of a ridiculous tour with some ridiculous people.
Overall, even that was probably our worst tour experience, and we still had a good time.
Yeah.
And
I remember being in Aberdeen one time, and the lead singer of one of the opening bands was at the bar with me and probably you or someone else. And the bartender was like, we were making nice with the bartender. He's this old guy, and he owned the place, and he wanted to do something nice, so he was like pushing bricks out of the way on the wall and pulling these old
you were egging him on. You were like, I want the good shit. I want the good scotch. And he's like, oh no. And then Jeremy gave enough like context that he knew what he was talking about. So the guy's like, all right. You know.
Okay. Pushes the brick out of the way, brings the old.
This stuff's in the bomb shelter.
For me, pours a little dram for Steve, whatever. And then the lead singer from the opening band was like, "Can I have one?" And he was like, "Sure." And he pours it, and he's like, "Do you have any Diet Coke?" And the guy was like, "Put the bottle back in the fucking
How dare you?
Yeah, but still.
I think a lot of it was, a lot of the time, like the nitpick we would have would be bands that were just out there the first time and learn how it works, maybe with a record that's doing real well or a record label behind them, you know, so...
Just the cockiness of youth kind of thing?
We ran into some weird shit on the Europe Warped Tour with, like, you know, dudes that were like predators, and every day they go out looking for a new girl and stuff like that, and so we tended to avoid guys like that. But
tours like that are cool because the first day you know who's good to hang out with, and so for the entire tour you just don't go near the assholes, you know, and you just hang out with the cool people. So.
Yep. get high with the BMX riders before they jump 30 feet in the air.
A few bands that owned our bus. The rest of the bands sort of rent them from these big companies, and they have all these rules, and they have things they can and can't do. We can do whatever the hell we want on our bus. So it happened to be true that a lot of people would come to our bus because we could do whatever they wanted on our bus.
Without air conditioning.
Without air conditioning.
What inspires you to write music?
Free beer.
I guess being in a band. It's like, I guess we have to write songs. It's weird.
Why were you in a band?
To get free beer. Yeah, there you go. So free beer,
It pretty
meeting
much
girls.
comes back to free beer and girls.
One of the differences between then and now too is that our main songwriters are either in the ground or somewhere on the West Coast. So,
Or in the
so
late
for the
waters.
three of us, we're still kind of learning that whole trick, you know.
Well, okay, so yeah, I mean, when we were doing it full time, we were a lot more serious about songwriting, and Todd was alive, and Tom. I mean, we're younger. You're not practicing. You're just like jamming all the time. So it's a whole different thing. And then now we have 7 albums of material. So we have a lot of stuff that people like to hear and we like to play. And then so last week we played our first show since March of 2020, and we played all the songs that everybody liked, and one song in the whole set is this new song. It's a really fucking good song. It sounds like all of our old songs. It sounds like a Pie Taster song that you put into a computer that said, make a Pie Taster song. Like, Pie Taster song.
No offense, sir.
No, I mean, but it's good. Like it fits in with the other songs. It sounds good in the set. It's not like, what the fuck is that? And as soon as the first note of that song came, everybody went to get a drink. And it's like, how do they know that this is like the new song?
And it's a little bit frustrating to think we could write
So
a
what's
whole
the point of
album
writing
with
it?
12 songs on it, maybe get away with doing 2 of those every show,
Maybe.
and have them be piss break songs.
Yeah.
But see, that actually leads me to my next question. Is there ever a song that you guys get burnt out playing, and like it's something like whenever everyone's like, I have to hear that, and then you're like, oh boy, not again.
Like there are a couple songs that have other people singing on them or whatever, and people are like, why didn't you play this? It's like, well, the guy that sings it isn't here, and so we're not going to do that. But
Occasionally we'll play the same song twice in a single show. Because some people will show up halfway and then they'll be like, play whatever.
You just do it to shut them up.
Play it anyway. We're like, all right.
that seems sex.
Hey, if it fills time, why not?
Yeah. and that's what it comes down to, though. We have enough material to fill all of the time.
More than you want to be in a club.
More than you ever
You're going to
want
be like, I love these guys, but I wish they would stop fucking playing. I've been here for an hour and 15 minutes. Enough.
So the motivation to make new stuff is sort of diminished slowly over time because there isn't really room left in the live show.
So we have some awesome new songs, but we're trying to find a way to make them into like a movie or something like that, so that like there's some other outlet for it. It's not just an album.
This was
gonna get
predicted.
on?
There was supposed to be a test.
Oh.
I don't know why it's at 7:41.
The Reichstag? Are we?
It's supposed to come through on a phone.
Eat the cyanide.
This is the Luftwaffe.
Does being in a band affect relationships with being family, friends, loved ones, spouse? Is it?
Maybe in 1995, but we all got that shit out of our system.
We're not. The people still in our band are not the people that will rank the band above their family or do it in order to avoid their family or anything like that. We're all very much family people.
And we don't force ultimatums like, you have to play the show, Al. You can't watch the baby tonight.
In some positions, like guitar, organ, horns, we have a deep bench, so if people have family obligations, we can bring in other people.
It helps with my stuff. I mean, like, I'm hard to deal with 24/7, so like, get me out of the house every now and then. It's a good thing.
How did the pandemic affect you guys when you were not touring? I mean, what was you doing during that time? Was you thinking of new songs, or?
I think we all spent a little bit of time on that at home.
Yeah. We wrote some new cuts. We did some videos.
Yep.
We recorded a live show in a cornfield.
Oh, that was for the Slackers.
Yeah,
I watched
an
it. It was the Bandulas, the Slackers, you guys. And,
we got a lot better at recording stuff in our various basement studios.
We did.
So.
Yeah, and we did a couple of drum sessions at a real studio with some new songs, and just trying to stay a little bit busy. We've been having Zoom calls where we usually don't talk about the band. We usually talk about other stuff, but...
Al's Final Cut Pro chops.
Yeah, we made that video for the Supernova thing.
But when did we practice the first time since last year? It was
Last
like
August.
in March or April of this year or something? Like up until whenever we practiced no, it was June, I think, because you were out of town.
Yeah.
I was ready. Like in May of this year, our agents like, I want to do this, I want to do this. I'm like, okay, book away. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to fuck this. And then we did one practice, and we're like, yeah, this is really fun. We should play those shows over the books. Yeah. All right. So here we are in Pittsburgh. You know.
So honestly, the truth is, practice is shut down with the weather, with the winter, when we couldn't do them outside anymore.
Yeah.
And then once everybody was vaccinated, we started again at Jeremy's. Yeah. So that's as far as the entire group getting together. That's been kind of where we're at.
I only have a couple more for you guys. I don't want to take up all your time, but the last time we had met and I interviewed you, you told the craziest story that has ever been on my show, and people constantly talk about it. Can you revisit the human burrito story?
I knew it was going to be.
So these guys give me a hard time for misremembering things, and we've gone over it in our heads. And so we're in San Francisco, and in San Francisco there's a Holiday Lodge, the Hotel Phoenix, and there's another hotel that are owned by the same group. And all the bands, wherever you're playing, or you're playing at Slim's or at what is Billy Graham's place, the Fillmore, wherever you're playing out there, they have a deal for bands. And so the Phoenix is this awesome, it's got a pool, it's like kind of Hawaiian 60s sort of feel.
Righteous.
The Holiday Lodge is also very cool. It's all organic, undulating, like the balconies are all kind of anyway. So
One
we're at
has a
this
guitar
place,
shaped pool.
and I think it was a Bouncing Souls, and we were there. See, there were 2 nights at the same hotel. And one night at the hotel, our manager went to get sodas and bumped into these 2 adult film stars, and they were filming Where the Boys Aren't Part 4 or 5 or something.
Oh, I thought they would have been up to 23 about for that.
Shane's were old 15 or something, and so they invited him to come to the room, and so our manager and our tour manager are in this room watching these people have sex, and at one part in the porno you can hear them talking about a World Series
Roger
game.
Roger Clemens was the best ever.
So that happened one night, and then a different night at this hotel.
They blur their guys' faces out, but you can see them like smoking weed on this big show.
Yeah, in the background.
So that was one night at this hotel, and another night at this hotel we're there, and it's late at night, and you've been drinking, you're partying, and you get hungry. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go, and I'm always the guy. These guys can attest. I'm like, I'm going to get food, and they're like, Steve, we're not hungry. I'm like, I don't fucking care. I want some pizza. Let's get some food. And they're like, dude. And so. And we went to the front desk, and they're like, nothing is open in San Francisco this late. And we're like, come on, man, come on. And he's like, no, there's nothing. And we're like, well, there's a taxi cab. We're going to find something open. And so it was me and Rob and Toby and I think one other person. And we all pile in this taxi cab. And we go driving around, and the taxi cab driver's like, I don't know, it's really late. We might not be able to find anything. And we're driving around. And finally we see their lights on inside this Mexican place, and he's like, all right, give it a try if you want to. And we're like, fuck yeah, we found it! We're all fucking drunk, we're getting some food! I'm fucking mad! Mexican food! We all go in, you walk in, and there's a window here where you walk in from here, and over there's a refrigerated section with beer, and then over here there's a counter, and behind that is the open kitchen, and the bathrooms are over here. So we come in, and the guys are like, what do you want? We're like, we want some food and some beer. Are you still selling beer? And he's like, you want food? And we're like, yeah, we want 22 burritos, we want nachos, we want salsa. We're just like yelling stuff, and they're like, okay, all right. And one by one, each guy goes to the bathroom, and I'm the guy with the bag of money, so I have to pay for everything, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, we want some beer, I want 2 cases of Heineken. I put it up, and the whole time I'm looking, and on the prep table in the back, there's this pile of ground meat. And it's just this pile of like pink ground meat. and it doesn't look cooked, and it looks like a lot of meat, but we thought maybe they were prepping for the next day, and who knows what goes on. I've never worked in a restaurant, so anyway, one by one the guys all go, and so finally he's like, okay.
I have, and that's against health code, but anyway, go ahead.
I mean, it was a huge pile of meat. And so finally the guy's like, here's your stuff, and here's, you want the beer, yeah. And I'm like, all right, what do I owe you? And he's like, $68. And I'm like, including the beer? And he's like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, are you? Okay. Here's $100, my friend. Keep the change. Thank you. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then we'll get out of your hair, and you have a great night. He's like, okay. And I go in the bathroom, and there's blood everywhere in the bathroom. And the trash can's full of bloody towels, and the sink is full of blood, and the toilet's full of blood. I mean, no joke, there's like bloody handprints. There's fucking blood everywhere. And so I walk in the bathroom, and I'm in there for a second. I'm like, this is weird. And I leave the bathroom, and I go out, and the guy's like, have a nice night. And so I take all this stuff and I get in the taxi cab, and everybody's in the cab just like, I was like, did you see the bathroom? And they're like, it was really weird, man. There was blood everywhere. So we get back to the Holiday Lodge, we bring all the food in, and you're so drunk that I guess you hope that it's actually food, and half of the people are passed out that wanted the food, and so that's just, we put it all out. We go into the room where Todd is still awake, and he never slept, so he was always awake, and we all start eating this burrito, and I'm like, I don't think I like this burrito. It tastes really gross, and Todd's like, this is disgusting. He's like, I don't even think it's cooked. And he's like, I don't know what animal this is from. And we're like, God. So we just ate some chips and watched TV and fell asleep, and then the next day we had to drive to, I think we're heading to like Idaho, so we left and went up to Sacramento and went east, and it's one of those long drives, and you know how you're hungover and you're kind of reflecting and you're thinking of what a piece of shit you are, and we're driving along, and so we're like, what do you think we ate last night? Todd goes, well, I worked at a funeral home for several years, and I think it might have been a human being. It's like, really? And we're like, yeah. And so then you get to wherever you're going, and you start drinking, and you kind of forget about things. But through the rest of the tour, we pieced together that we feel like we walked in on a crime scene, and they knew how fucked up we were, and they just gave us either uncooked meat or a human burrito full of whoever they had done away with. And I mean, if you know anything about Northern California, they make people disappear like crazy. It's like drug gang people, and
Shanghai.
You're not going to see that written up in the police report. It's, it's like they had to get rid of Miguel, and they served him to the pie taste. And I told this on another podcast, on my friend Chad Duke's podcast, and somebody went and found the place. And it was on Twitter, and he went to San Francisco, and he got it down to the date of the tour and when we were in San Francisco, and he was looking at different restaurants, and he's like, is this it? And it was on Twitter, and I'm like, nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. And like the fifth one, I was like, that is the fucking place. And he found 2 murders like within 2 weeks nearby, but there wasn't anything the same date, and nothing that like would have been directly related.
And so it wasn't fresh.
So, like,
it was a fresh kill. You're good.
So yeah,
It was marbled.
I don't know, man.
oh, so then nice.
And the story sucks because there's no payoff. Like, there's no knowing what it was. But you guys were there. I mean, there was something fucked up with that, and there were enough guys in the band that went in the bathroom and saw all the blood.
And that would have been evidence had they used the bathroom after they ate the burrito. So.
Rob, you were there in the bathroom for the human burrito with all the blood in San Francisco?
I remember the story, yes.
All right, I gotta call Toby.
So while he does that, this brought another story to mind about Todd, who, R.I.P. His plan was to donate or extract pints of blood from himself and save enough of them
Freeze them. Yeah.
so that he could like spray them all over a hotel room and then disappear, and then the cops would be like, well, there's no way he could have possibly lived and lost this much blood. And then just assume he was
There's
dead.
funny ways to fake his own death.
That's pretty brilliant, actually.
Pour all my blood in the bathroom of a hotel and pull out a chunk of hair, and then
Took a scalp that they could say.
And then then all of our friends who are attorneys were like, it's a felony to fake.
I didn't know that.
So
Yeah, it seems like probably a bad thing to do.
I feel bad about Miguel in the burrito, but
Not as bad as Miguel does.
it was like Kobe. It was like Kobe beef. It was
Dude, I can picture it in my mind, that pile of meat.
Yeah.
Do you still taste it sometimes? Have you ever ate something that's comparable to the human burrito?
Pork.
Ooh.
Like raw pork, or like not cooked enough pork,
Yeah.
which they say is closest to the human meat.
That's what's for dinner.
Pork, the other white meat.
Well, let's talk a little bit before we close here about the future of the Pietasters. You had mentioned earlier that you're working on new songs, and then you want to try to do something like a movie thing. Like, is that for sure?
We're going to start a Kickstarter to get John Waters to direct the movie.
Oh, dude, I met John Waters.
He'd
He
be
was
the only
awesome.
one that would be able.
Oh, dude, he was
see our
great.
vision. We have some good storyboard ideas, and
That's perfect.
I mean,
Regardless, having a video to put on social media or YouTube or whatever seems to be kind of the better way to go than just putting out an album of records, I mean, or of songs. As much as it'd be great to do 12 songs and put them out, it's like, you spend all that time, you spend the time promoting it, you do 1 or 2 videos, and then it's gone in a month or 2,
plus, there are all these
Unless you try and build
retrospective
bigger
movies that are out now about different scenes and different record labels and stuff, and we're like, we've got a bunch of awesome fucking stories. We could tell our own.
That's what I was gonna
story.
say, man. Like, I would totally be into that. Who would play you guys? Like, if you were gonna pick?
Farley would be nice.
All right.
Well, he's dead.
That might be a little creepy.
I always got Nicolas Cage my whole life, so I'm gonna go with
Oh,
that
dude, I'm a
one.
big Nick Cage fan.
Oh.
Have you seen
Al,
Willy's?
it's time for sound check.
Have you guys seen Willy's Wonderland?
No, I hear
Yes!
it's awful.
It's so bad. It's great.
it.
It's so good.
One word in this movie.
Especially the
It's
last.
amazing.
The last
doesn't,
third
yeah.
is great.
Doesn't say one.
He doesn't utter a line.
Fantastic.
He's the best.
I love Nick
I just
Cage.
watched
Man. Did you see Mandy?
but I watched the 40. Maybe I'm interested in seeing that one. I don't know. I just watched the 40-minute movie or video on why jujitsu is terrible, like his latest one.
Oh, dude, I love jujitsu. It's so bad. It should be on Mystery
I
Science
found
TV.
this guy called Elvis the Alien that does like 45-minute takedowns of bad movies. Like it's 45 minutes
my-
of him just
almost as long as the
trashing
movie?
scene by scene. He goes
thought he
through
meant the
every
discipline
single
of
Yeah, I
one.
thought you meant like the skill.
I was like, Joe Rogan's gonna be pissed at him.
I actually do. Some of my podcast is about horror. I'm a big horror fan. Do you guys like horror at all? What's your favorite horror movie?
All time?
Yes.
Oh, I know.
I can even go back to like
Rosemary's
classics.
Baby.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a great one.
I'm
Ooh,
gonna
that's
say
a good one.
Candyman.
Yeah. I knew-
I'm excited for the reboot this month. That's gonna be good.
Toolbox Murders.
The original?
The original.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
I'm a casual. I like Cabin in the Woods,
Oh, that one's good. That's a very meta. That's a
but
cool.
it's not. It's not. I don't like the gore stuff so much. Although as a kid, too young, I used to like Friday the 13th movies a lot.
Oh,
I
that
still
first
like him, man.
Fucking good.
We actually got married in the cemetery where the original Night of the Living Dead was filmed.
Watching Glee scares the shit out of me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I shit my pants once watching it.
We have been actually spending some time lately talking about stories in the future. We've been spending some time like itemizing all the stories and like getting the plot points down and documenting it.
That's awesome. So,
That'd be great.
I think Alanis Morissette would play me.
Because of Barbados. From the naked video she did, remember?
well, at least you have Demi Moore Bush. That thing's untamed. I mean,
What was that?
Toolbox Murders.
So there's that McConaughey movie, Angry Joe or something. Something Joe.
oh, I know
Gina
which one you're
Gershon
talking
does
about.
Full frontal, and she wears a fucking merkin, so she's got a bush.
Yeah.
That's not full frontal, that's just topless.
You saw enough.
Oh boy.
So, I
Oh,
guess.
maybe it makes her suck a chicken, a piece of fried chicken.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you guys. I just want to thank all you for participating. Thanks for letting me know what's going on in the past, present, and future of the Pietasters. I love you guys. I'm sure I'll get to rap with you again next time you're in town. Thank you so much. Peace and love, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us. You'll hear the same stories in 2 years.
Really good
You'll be like, you
question.
guys told us this one on the last
Maybe then they'll know the real
Smells like